tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
I told you this song is awesome. Yes.
Beautiful. We have our own resident Lady Gaga here.
Yeah.
Welcome, After Buzzers, to another face-off after show, episode 4, Royal Flush. If you've not done so already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV, and check us out on iTunes and SoundCloud as well. And don't forget to leave a comment about your thoughts and feelings, opinions. You can always tweet us too. Make sure you use the hashtag ABTVFaceoff. I like that, in unison.
Yeah. I got you, girl. I got you.
I am your host, Alana Jordan, and today I am joined by our full panel.
Yes, my name is Aaron, not Arena, and I am. My Twitter name is @AAMOmusic, and I'm supposed to look over here.
And I'm Emma Fyffe. You can find me on Twitter @EmmaFyffe, because I'm really creative like that.
I like it. And I'm Alexis Torres, and you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at atorres890.
Cool. And I'm Alana Jordan. So there you go.
Jeez.
Booyah. So, we're really excited because we are joined today by 3 of our favorite contestants. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Welcome. Welcome.
Yay!
Introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm Man. You go. Let's do it in order.
Okay.
Like people do.
Okay.
Jamie.
So I'm Jamie. And I guess, I mean, season 8 contestant. I don't know what else to say. But you can find me on Twitter @JRayleigh. And you can.
I'm Adam Milicevic, season 8 of Face Off. You can find me on Twitter at Civic Dilemma, and on Facebook under Adam Milicevic.
Perfect.
I'm Regina Jiganti from season 8 of Face Off. You can find me at rjiganti on Twitter.
Sweet. And we're so glad to have you guys back. And Adam, welcome for the first time.
Thank you. Yes.
A little shindig we got going on.
I know. It's a little party up in here.
So this episode was all based on Alice in Wonderland, as you can kind of tell here. The contestants had to draw a card and then base their makeup off of the card that they drew. It was pretty cool too. They were in the Normandy Casino, which I always like seeing where they're gonna go, in addition to seeing what Mackenzie's gonna wear. So it was kind of a cool location. Yeah, throwing that in there. And we also had the special guest was somebody who actually really knew what he was talking about.
Knows about makeup.
on Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton version, was Robert Stromberg as well. So let's dive right into it. We'll start with the people who were safe this week. Kelly, Team Anthony. She got the Queen of Spades.
Yes.
What'd you think of this one?
I mean, I thought that when I saw that makeup, my initial reaction was, oh my gosh, this looks like Kelly. Like it was the same. Like Kelly's got this purple hair. Like there's a little bit of purple going on in the face of this lady. I don't know. I felt like she had a very Kelly appearance and energy about her.
I felt bad because I was watching it with all my baby cousins, and one of my little cousins was like, "Is that Kelly when she's gonna be old?" And I was like, "Oh, you are not allowed to say that." But
so you reiterate it here on the air. Nice.
I obviously think that's a little. I mean, she's 5. I mean, she doesn't know any better. Don't listen to her. But you know, she thinks that like Mickey Mouse looks like me, or Minnie Mouse looks like me. So there you go.
People tell me I look like Miss Piggy.
What? That's a load.
That's
never mind.
I think it's more a personality thing, though.
I don't know how that makes me feel either.
He means you're very abusive to
to your small green boyfriend.
I was gonna say strong and full of attitude in a good way.
and independent.
So, yes.
I feel like this conversation is taking a turn. Let's dive back into the actual episode. Ben, also, you were so excited, Aaron. Team Anthony, he got the Jack of Diamonds for this one, and I thought it was a really good silhouette. I liked it a lot. I liked the little chin hair that was sticking out. What did you think of this one?
I like that one too. I don't know why. It was just like my super big favorite. I think I liked just some of the other ones like Emily's, but we'll get into that one a little bit later. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like the pastiness of the face.
The pastiness of the face.
I don't know. It just looks, I don't know. It just looks like, I don't know. It just a lot
like
of the
he needs more sun.
Yeah, that's what, yeah. I don't know for whatever reason. I mean, I know that was a style, but it just was kind of like, okay.
I think that he did a good job fulfilling the sort of concept that he initially talked about with it. Because basically, when they were assigned cards, everybody also explained, like, what the virtues associated with their cards were. And the Jack of Diamonds represents patience. So his idea was that it was this man who had just been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and instead of ever doing anything, he just waited around and got really old. So I see that in this makeup. I also did write down that I particularly liked the detailing and the costuming on this makeup. Like, it looked worn. It didn't look neon and like it was from Claire's, unlike some other costumes we saw tonight.
The one thing that they don't focus on with his makeup is to show the waiting, the patience. He built a pocket sundial that built from scratch, that unfolded and everything. So, but it's just, you can only edit 3 days down into 45 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I felt that a lot of the makeups actually this week, there were a lot of things that I wanted to see more of with them, because I'm with you, Aaron. Like, I liked this makeup. And I would have liked to have seen that detail.
Yeah, that's a really cool element that I didn't even know
was
like anything.
2 days was like the makeup he was done with day one, and then everything else was was the sundial. So
it has to be somewhat frustrating when you create this design element and then it doesn't even really make it to air, and then
but it is what it is.
It is.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of contestants right now, so they have limited amounts of time. We were talking about that kind of last week, and since this was the first individual spotlight challenge as well, there was so much to cover because there were so many more looks than we've seen.
That is true. This is the largest number of looks we've seen since you guys had your initial foundation challenge on the very first episode. So I felt like this episode kind of went at a breakneck speed, and we didn't get to spend as much time with all of the makeups as we have in previous episodes because they were team efforts. So
and then jumping on that, this was the first time in the episode that I actually felt frustrated about the judges, not necessarily not wanting them there, but because they started focusing on their opinions, and I was like, I don't want to hear what they have to say or what critiques they're giving them now. I really just want to see the process, the creative process. So I feel like on top of that, they have so much jam-packed. Then they have the judges. Then they have Michael Westmore. It's just too much.
Well, it felt like it was extremely hectic this episode. And it was kind of hard for me to focus. So I don't know. I completely agree that I feel like I missed kind of the team effort and doing that. But I also like seeing everybody's creativity, which we definitely saw in this episode.
Yeah. So. I like too that when it's the individual challenges, you know exactly this was this person's vision. This is what they contributed, because I feel like some of the other ones on the show, you're like, well, wait, so who did what? And it doesn't really specify. So this is your conception. This is how you created it, and it's kind of the full embodiment of what you wanted to make versus the collaboration, where on air it's kind of hard to delineate who did what. And
and I think that was, I don't know, this was everyone's first most stressful challenge.
So. I was gonna ask, like, how did you guys feel with this being the first time really since that initial foundation challenge where all of a sudden it is kind of every man for himself?
I mean, you guys saw.
Yeah.
I don't have to explain that one. Absolutely stressful. Absolutely, things beyond your control. So you just have to make it work.
Yeah.
And especially since I was chosen last, and then Regina was like right before me. Yeah. I mean, we still have I had to, prove a point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I mean, I ended up on the bottom, so we'll talk about that one later.
Rob was also safe this week. Team race again. He had the Jack of Spades, and he created the big, enormous
patch.
I
didn't think it was going to be that big when I first saw it. I guess it was quite large.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know how everybody else felt, but at least from what I was seeing, it looked like the face was kind of small. I don't know if that was because of the model or just the way that he was.
Well, I know it was coming off too, as well.
I felt really bad that he was just like that.
Glenn just came up and
like dug his hand in there, and I was like, I don't like that. I mean, I can't say anything because even if I was judging, I wouldn't sit there and be like, oh man, look at this, and like start flapping the stuff around. But I mean, at the same time, what?
It looks like
I'm just gonna leave that one alone.
3 years of Halloween costumes. 1 year he was Guy Fawkes. The another year he was Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die. And the other year he was Hook, and he just put them together.
Thank you.
But you know what? That's good character design. The fact that all that rings with you. You know what I mean? Like there's a familiarity, but it's something you haven't seen before.
That's absolutely true. And I just love the hat that he made for this character, which is what I was going to say, Alexis, is that I feel like part of the reason maybe why his face looks so small is because
of the hat.
Yeah, his hat's enormous. But I love how the hat looks, and I think that it added, one of the things they kept really harping on in this episode was like, don't make it too horror, don't make it too scary. It needs to be quirky, it needs to be whimsical and fun. Tim Burton, because, you know, Tim Burton never makes anything terrifying.
That was sarcasm for anyone who didn't pick up on that.
Sarcasm.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually just why.
Yeah, look it up in the Wiktionary.
Oh, my word.
But I felt that that the hat added that nice, more whimsical comedic element to it, because I mean this hat is far too gigantic for any character that was ever meant to be taken entirely seriously.
I would walk down the street with that hat. I don't care.
It made me think of the SNL with the Celebrity Jeopardy where he comes out wearing the giant hat. He's like, got an oversized hat. It's funny. It's bigger than a regular sized hat. Like, that's all I was thinking. I was like, oh, Rob's the Mad Hatter of our Alice in Wonderland episode. It works out. Yeah. Oh, well, like, fair enough. Stephanie, I like this one. Team Laura. She had the King of Diamonds.
Yeah, and she had a model change happen on her, so the face turned out a little bit lopsided, I thought. But what I literally wrote down was, I like him. His face is a little asymmetrical, but I still like him.
Omar, by the way, we were informed, was also the Batichoke.
Omar was the Batichoke.
So.
And yeah, it's fun. It's fun because you get to direct your models and say, go do this, go do this. And for whatever reason, me and Julian just didn't think of anything. And we're like, well, he's a soldier. He goes, I'll think of some kung fu. Don't worry about it. And he went out there and did Omar Fu. So, and it was awesome.
That has to be somewhat terrifying, though, when you sculpted something for one person and they say, oh, by the way, application time, here's a different person. And
well, that's just, I mean, that just happens.
Yeah,
like,
it does just happen.
You know, model gets sick, and that's, it's no different than something that could happen on set.
Yeah,
so
true story.
Except you're in a competition, so.
Life sucks. I don't know.
Yeah, when you're on set, you already have the job, so you don't have the extra panic level of, oh my God, I'm gonna be.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
I imagine. I understand.
I'm letting you know about your career path that I have nothing to do with. So just so you know, there you go.
The more you know.
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry.
Yep.
There you go. Jamie, I'm telling you, we're just same brain. I love how you also called me out last week. I have to call you out for calling me out too. So if at any point I say something incorrect, feel free to jump in again and be like, by the way, somebody cried in the first episode. You were wrong.
Again.
That was my fave.
Then Logan, he was also team raced, had the Queen of Clubs. He scrapped this and started all over. I think that happened a good bit this episode. That's like the most that we've seen people just say, never mind, let's start completely from scratch.
I mean, honestly, was there a single person on this challenge that just like rolled with it from the beginning and didn't make some serious changes?
I don't know.
Probably Ben.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
I would only think Ben.
Yeah, Ben's he's really confident in his concepts. Like, this is what I'm doing. Gonna do it. So.
And Rob.
Yeah, Rob too.
Rob too.
Yeah, Rob had a
knew
pretty
where he was
concise
going.
idea.
I really liked the old age makeup, the first concept design.
That Logan had?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I love, Logan said it best about this makeup, I have to say. He basically was like, she looks great. She's got a goatee. She's beautiful and bearded.
I loved Queen Amidala with a beard.
Yeah.
That's, I was like, well, there you go. That does kind of sum it up, but...
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Contribution.
I mean, like, just looking at it, I don't know why I'm just okay with it. Like, seeing it more and more, I'm like, now that I'm like looking at it in the big screen, I'm like, oh yeah, like, it does look like a queen with a beard, but then for some reason, something in the eyes just kind of pulls you in and makes you feel like it's more feminine. I don't know. Not the big giant dress, clear that she's wearing, but I don't know. What do you guys think about this makeup? Is just as far as, I mean...
I think a space background would have completed it.
That's probably, that's accurate.
Right out of a Riddick movie.
It does kind of look almost like bat wings, too. Like,
does it?
Yeah, don't you think?
Well, all that, I mean, he made all that. Like, all that's, like, custom carved and wired. Like, Logan busted his hump on it. Like, but he gave it a beard.
You know what I think? You know what I think at least just solidifies it? It just feels complete for whatever reason. You know, sometimes you have like designs that just don't feel complete, and whether, I mean, I know it's just with the costume, but it just feels whole for whatever reason, even though it has. So it just detracts away from that goatee.
Yeah. No, I like her. She's Queen Amidala with a beard, and that's just great.
Yeah, I like Queen Amidala. I like beards. Put them together. Sounds good.
Adam's makeup.
Yay!
You said you were disappointed with this one. I liked it.
I really liked it.
This was one where I had an initial concept that I was more inspired by, like, because the club is poverty. Like, it's a symbol of poverty. So my initial thing was like a king that's sort of slaying the other kings.
Oh.
You know, and
to try to get their money and their thrones and their women.
Exactly.
And,
But it wasn't whimsical enough. So
they didn't think a murder king was whimsical?
Yeah, no, who'd have thought? Like, so I was like, I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I'm doing my Tim Burton. I'm doing 1989 Batman and Prince. Like that, like, to me, that's my Tim Burton.
That was the first thing that came to my brain, and I was like, maybe I'm not reading that correctly, because he looks like if Batman just decided, I'm going to dress up as Prince for
That's
the day.
exactly what you're reading.
Good.
So
that's what
I succeeded.
I love it.
But no, so that's like, that was my Tim. I'm like, I'm going to channel my Tim Burton, because
I like that.
That's what I did.
We go from bat wings to Batman. It works out.
Battle show.
Yeah.
Battle show.
Yeah, but there was I don't really have a familiarity with Liberace, but apparently that's exactly what I created.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I was like,
it's the boa that makes it Liberace. That's the only thing, I think.
Well, Liberace loves feathers. So.
What's funny is when he came out on stage, he had this reveal where he did the cape, but the boa was really cheap, so he went like this, and feathers flew out from the cape. I wish they kept it in. It was amazing.
I know you said that you thought it was kind of pimp-like, but I don't know.
Look at that cane.
It's a little, I mean, I'm not familiar with pimps, I'll be honest. Like,
cane sword.
I think that's more stance than actual
makeup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
That's because when you said that on the show, I was like, well, that's just because he's standing like a pimp.
I mean, it's not like he was actually like doing a pimp walk as he was coming in or anything.
I sort of told him to do that too.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, just sell it like you're this and that. And then he walked out. I'm like, he's walking like a pimp. I should have been more specific.
Regina, I loved this. I know. I'll be honest. I thought this should have won this week.
It should have, at the very least, been in top looks. Number one, as you said on the show, it was completely different than anything else anybody was doing. So basically, Regina, you had the Joker, and they were told that they could incorporate whatever suit they wanted. And what Regina decided to do was actually build two faces on this model. So there was a face in the front and a face in the back. And when that model came out on stage, it was actually facing backwards. But when I initially watched it, I didn't know that it was facing backwards, and it turned around and I was like, oh, that was the back of the head.
I love it. Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
That's a good picture.
Yeah, that is good.
But this is the thing, is like, even from the initial makeup application day stuff, when they showed you doing the paint job. I mean, like, the paint job looked great. You applied a second head onto this person, like, and you were basically blending. What did you end up making the second face out of? You said on the show, just
it was just latex, but I had a vacuum form of the actor's face, so it just fit a little bit better.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, you managed to pretty well blend the seams between the two sides of the face, and the paint jobs matched up, and I don't know, I loved it. I felt it was really underappreciated. Like, I felt like they showed a little bit of your process of the challenges you were encountering, but then once it was done, it was just like, this is what it looks like on stage. Like, I don't even think we saw this in close-up when the judges were looking at close-ups of the makeups.
And you did part of it with a wrist brace on, too. So
Yeah.
it's even more impressive that, you add in that element. I honestly feel like there were several decisions that I disagreed with the judges pretty strongly this episode, and I feel like this was the number one that I thought this should have won.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this one was definitely on point. I just like I know I said it a little bit earlier, it just seemed pasty. I think because you did a bunch of, like, I don't know, shading, it just, and made it just wasn't just white. It's easy just, I feel like, just to go ahead and slap a bunch of color. I don't know. It just looked really nice. And this is what I always want to ask all of them, is just, all the contestants, is when you guys, as far as just having costumes and everything like that, like, I think that might have been what took it away from the double-sided face, because it looks really, really fantastic when it's just right there by itself. And what do you guys have a say in that? Do you guys have any say as far as what they wear, or?
How would you answer that?
I don't know.
We designed the costume.
We developed the whole character.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Because I just think, like, the colors maybe what took it away. So then when you see it, it just kind of, it looks great. It just, I don't know.
See, I
was going to say, I completely disagree with you, because in my brain, it was reminding me of, like, old Adam West Batman.
Well, not necessarily the pattern, but just, I think the
That's
colors.
not a bad thing at all.
No,
not at all.
No.
I don't know, the colors, I think that's what it was.
No, I totally understand
Yeah.
that, like, the colors probably it's kind of off, but that's why I like it, is because it's, one, I thought it was perfect that you got the Joker, just in general. I think it just fits your whole personality, but at the same time, you can just, I don't know, when I saw him completely in makeup and in costume, and he was, pulling and doing all these crazy stunts, I was like, he's an Adam West villain. That's exactly what he is. Like, it's perfect. But that's my own opinion.
Are you saying, like, the colors of the costume you didn't
Yeah.
like?
That's the hard part. Like, I don't know. And I guess when you compare it, like, to the other people that I guess were chosen for this particular episode,
it's too bright,
just,
maybe.
I just don't. It's weird.
It seemed like the judges liked stuff this week that was by and large fairly monochromatic.
Yeah.
And this was definitely not that.
And that's what I'm trying to understand. It's like why they made certain decisions as far as, because it really should just be about the makeup. You know what I mean? Rather than just the whole picture. But I feel like sometimes when you do have a costume that maybe doesn't fit in their taste, it really takes away from the makeup. And that's what sucks, because it really should just be about your work that you did on his face, because it's brilliant. But yeah, I don't know. That's.
What do you think, Regina, about the
Well,
costume?
I mean, as far as the costume goes, I actually was, like, really surprised with it and everything. I really liked it. The whole concept was that it was a toy. Like, those old iron kind of toys that, like, you wind up and then you move.
Yeah.
So that's what he was, but he wound from the top, so that's why he had the two faces and, like, his hat like a top. So I think the colors of his costume kind of accented, like, a time period to, like, his whole, my whole thought about how he was.
That makes sense to me too, looking at the face too, because it does look almost like a like aged porcelain doll or something.
Yeah.
I loved the paintwork on the face a lot.
I just really liked that it was very cinematic. And
Yes.
I feel like when the challenge is based off of a movie and it's this movie look, and then you have a character that you say, okay, I could definitely envision watching this character and the different character choices that it makes. I think I just really liked it. But let's dive into who the judges thought were top looks. Darla, and everybody was Team Laura, so congrats
Every
to Team
single
Laura.
one of them, yeah.
Darla had the Jack of Hearts, and that Glenn said was brilliant and stunning, and I liked it. I thought that it had that natural heart shape with the kind of beard look. I thought it was very clean makeup, but I was very surprised that was top looks and yours wasn't. Honestly.
Yeah.
It just it was. I agree with you, Elena. It was a very clean makeup. It just wasn't particularly creative. I feel like I've seen this before, and I don't feel that way about some of the other makeups that we saw this week.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm on the same boat with like the color. Like that's why I liked Regina's better, because her colors were just popping, not just because of the outfit, but just seeing the cracks in the makeup. And then hers was very clean, but I felt like it was very pale.
Yes.
At one point, and like the color of the back of the head, I wanted if you're gonna color it, I kind of wanted it to be more popped out, but it seemed kind of pale, kind of like muscles.
And then we had Julian was also top looks. He had the Jack of Clubs that Glenn said was one of the few that stood out, which also surprised me because I thought there were a lot that stood out this time.
Yeah. I mean, I like this one though.
I do like this one a lot.
I
do think that this one was a really good one that did deserve to be top looks as well. So in that regard, I also agree.
Yeah. I wrote down that I thought this one looked like something out of a Jim Henson movie in the vein of like Dark Crystal or Labyrinth. Like I could see him like hanging out with David Bowie.
Yeah. I think too because it has that cinematic element.
Yeah,
You question what is this character going to contribute to the storyline.
Absolutely.
And so I just really like any time that that's an element that's incorporated.
You know what's so weird about all three of these pieces that I'm so like obsessed with the color, but the other previous piece was black and like a burgundy, and then this one's a black and a burgundy, and the next one's a black and a burgundy.
It's all kind of similar colors.
It's weird, and I'm like, why did they do it that way? Like I
guess they were just trying to stick with the card theme, which is mostly black.
But
and
I mean, like I guess
burgundy.
from a judge's perspective, you should look at them as individual pieces rather than just as groups. It's just
yeah.
And Emily won with her Queen of Hearts, which was the final top look as well. That also same kind of color scheme. So
yeah. I did really like her wig.
Me too.
And I
really
like the
liked
way
the
that
wig.
she styled it, and it kind of echoes the shape of the human heart between the face and the sort of jaunty angle of the wig. So I liked it. Once again, I think it was a very clean makeup. The wig is fabulous. I loved the hearts on the like picket fence that she had going on around her neck. And Elena is honoring her with that heart there.
it's really just to hide a whiskey stain on her.
Let's
be honest.
Let's be honest.
That's a Halloween costume. But let's check out the bottom looks this week because we had three kind of pretty. I was kind of surprised by some of these as well. Jamie, of course.
I'm sorry. I don't think she deserved to be down there.
I have to say, having your concept and then having last choice of models and getting a female model to create the look that you wanted, that has to be a challenge.
It is. Because, I mean, not only is this our first individual challenge, now there's a gender swap, which is, bone structures and everything are completely different. So,
yeah.
I mean, and you have a king who's supposed to be big, and there's no other way to go with it but Lord Farquaad. Like, really, there's no other way to go with it.
Yeah.
So
when V said he was a bit of a dandy and then said, I don't know if I would have gone with that choice, it's like, well, what other choice?
What choice would you make, V? Because I'm working with a small woman now, and I'm supposed to be creating a king reminiscent of David and Goliath. So
yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, I worked with what I was given. I mean,
yeah,
and I think you pulled through. I feel that's why I didn't think that you belonged. I mean, makeup wise, I feel like you didn't belong there.
It was rough, and I will admit that this is probably one of the worst makeups that I've done.
No.
So. Other than the foundation challenge in the beginning.
But I did write down, though, Jamie, that I appreciated that you were very self-aware. Like, you knew that this was not your best work. And another thing that I commented on, I think, in the previous episode, or if I didn't, I wrote it down and I meant to, is that, like, when you were working with Rob, I felt like both of you seemed to be very coachable. Like, you get it. Like, when people come in and they give you suggestions, you seem to be able to, like, take that suggestion and go with it and not freak out and feel like you need to completely change everything.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's the thing that we all know is that ultimately it's our choice.
Yeah.
Like, we have our coaches, we have Mr. Westmore, we have all of that, but ultimately it's our decision. So our choices are what puts us on the bottom, what puts us on the top, or what puts us in safe. So, none of the blame should ever be put on the coaches. For
No,
that.
no,
So.
no.
I put all my blame on the coach.
That race.
Somebody else team race as well. Anthony said he was embarrassed by his work this week, and V, gosh, she just tears in. She does not hold back, saying in close up, it's so horrible. It's not even a good clown makeup.
Like I was just like, ooh, burn.
V has an insult comedy show in Vegas, by the way.
Yeah,
I believe that. I would 100% believe that.
I'll be honest, I kind of felt like this one should have been the one that went home, just because it looks very Christina Aguilera dirty with like the
Jeez.
you know, like dirty Christina. You guys know what I'm talking about.
I was maybe it was just me, but I was like super distracted by the giant bejeweled heart belt thing that like I can like buy my little cousin at Claire's.
Yeah,
like that's part of what made it so Christina.
Jeez. I don't know.
And
She's not
why?
watching it.
And
No,
I
of course
just
not.
noticed this now looking at the photo. I'm not really sure why it's carrying. They look like Raphael size.
I was just looking at that.
Yeah, he had a Suicide King. He had the king with the swords going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I like the initial concept that when they said scrap the chess piece, don't go too hard. I thought that would have been something phenomenal to look at, because in the card, the king is stabbing himself in the head.
He is.
So,
yeah.
you know, it seems like play into what you're given instead of saying, oh, this may not be whimsical enough. And that, I guess, was my biggest issue that I had with all of the criticisms, with that they were saying, go more whimsical. And it just seemed so... It's such a sharp contrast to what... It just seemed very conflicting in the direction.
What was weird is they kept saying go more whimsical, and then the pieces that were top looks weren't really whimsical at all. They were really dark. And
They were.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It was just a lot of
That is correct.
because they said it
monochromatic.
They said it several times in the episode, like quirky, and then Michael Mesmer just came in, Tim Burton, and then it was just like, okay, what's going on?
What happened?
Do you find that because I know when we were watching it, the way that it's edited, it's this cohesive here, the set directions versus how it actually is when you're filming. I mean, is it weird when you go back and watch the episode and say, well, these weren't the exact directions that we were initially given, and then later it was kind of different? And is it interesting, I guess, to see how it's cut together? That just seems like it's got to be weird.
It is weird. I mean, the term whimsical, like in my mind, whimsical is not a makeup choice. It's more a character choice. Because you see, you see Beetlejuice, you see all these characters that, can be scary, but they choose a more comedic aspect of it. So the fact that we're told quirky, you hear it all the time, quirky, fun, whimsical, and you're just like, oh, we're go with this. And then Mr. Westmore comes in and says it's horror. I mean, it's too scary. And we're in our minds, we're not supposed to go to the horror route, but we're so used to seeing Tim Burton in the horror route. But then I think it's a character choice as opposed to a makeup choice. So
that's a really interesting way to put it too, is that you're given these adjectives that are they seem more like this is a script thing more so than a visual element that you're being described.
Well, sometimes the challenges are really just, they contradict themselves. I mean, like the Hunger Games challenge.
Yeah.
Combine this animal and this plant, but build it on a human.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just gave us a Jim Henson challenge.
Also, make sure it doesn't look too much like a plant, but make sure we know that there's a plant incorporated into this, but it can't look like a plant.
So
or the animal.
Or the animal.
I don't want to see the plant or the animal, but combine them. Just do something.
But don't make it too human on this human.
Yeah. And it's just like, and then when you're concepting, you're trying to think of like, why would all this be together? And then you put that concept together, and they're like, I don't get the concept. And it's like, well, I don't know why you handed me this.
It's also a makeup show. It's not like a huge creature building I'm gonna build this on a dog. Kind
This isn't Creature Shop Challenge. This is Face Off.
Daniel, this was his look, the Queen of Diamonds that Glenn said was conceptually unintelligible. Speaking of having them say that they don't understand the concept fully, and I mean, I do have to agree with V that the mouth does make her look a little deformed.
Yeah,
it looks a little. You know,
the mouth was definitely kind of a bummer. I hated that was how he attempted to, like, at least from my interpretation, incorporate the original idea that he had, which was this woman who had like diamond shooting out of her head, basically, which I think would have been a much more successful makeup. They were saying it was looking too harsh and too scary. I think you could have made something really lovely with that. But Daniel was terrified of doing a beauty makeup. Because it was something he didn't have any experience with. I mean, Emily put the eyelashes on this.
And then that's another, I know we always say this, but I love how on this show people jump in to help each other. I just think that's such a cool element that you don't see in a lot of reality TV competition shows. And so I have to say, props to them for showing that, because I always like when I'm like, help each other out, guys.
We'll backstab each other. Like one time I pooped in her mold once.
Yeah.
They
loved it. It was
fun. V's probably talking about it in her show in Vegas right now.
Yeah, it was great. This was just the prime example of how I feel like having those other opinions where you end up just saying, oh, well, let's scrap this whole idea and create something entirely different. It sometimes can backfire, because I feel like the initial concept was really solid. I really liked it, and that's one that I would have liked to see come to fruition. Sadly,
he was so hopeful then.
Daniel. God, where's my heart?
Gosh.
Yeah, I didn't think he should have gone home.
I don't think so either.
I love you, Anthony, but
that's exactly how I feel. Like, I love Anthony, but that makeup was...
Well, like Daniel, like it's just one of those things where it's like when you're on this and you just catch one thing that throws you off, and you just sort of question stuff, and you have the coach's opinion and everything else, and then you're thinking back of the last two challenges and like, well, let me put that input into this, and like it's not necessarily applied here, and because Daniel's like an amazing art director and designer and everything, and so
he's only been doing this for 8 months.
That's
incredible.
Insane to me that with 8 months background and that you can create the things that he's made. So
his exit speech made me get a little teary. It was so cute. He was basically like, I'm so hopeful, and this was a great experience.
He just shouldn't have gone home for it. That's just a weird thing. And it felt awful because, like Elena was saying, they just was so many conflicting people just kind of interjecting and taking away, and it just was...
But that's also reminiscent of being on set where there's a director, but then there's the creative heads and all these people saying this and this and this and this, and then it can sometimes...
But then I think when you're like in a competition, though, you are like looking for these people to like the criticism they're giving is for beneficial and won't essentially take away
criticism.
And construct
versus this was so horrible it shouldn't even be a clown. Like,
I can imagine
what am I supposed to take away from that?
I can imagine being in your guys' place, just hearing that from now like before it was just one person, Michael Westmore just coming in the middle of it, but now it's like several different people. It's just.
Well, again, we have the choice to take it or not. We made choices that got us on the competition. We made choices that got us, that take us through the competition. So ultimately, it's our choice. Yes, our coaches are telling us exactly, what their opinions. Same thing with Mr. Westmore. They're, every other season has had that. It's just like being on a team challenge. You have somebody who you're talking to, and you can either take it or you don't. Ultimately, you're the one who makes the decision, and like I said before, ultimately you're the one who's responsible for what's put on stage.
Well, I'm definitely glad that none of you went home this week. But I remember when we were at Universal, you said that you almost would rather be bottom looks than just be safe.
You know what? Like, I did say that because the thing is this challenge, you didn't see what I did because I sculpted 4 faces. My initial concept was to have the front face, back face, and then you had a baton with 2 faces on it.
Oh,
cool. And because like the whole thing was he's a performer for the king, and he's been used so many times that he's started to rust, and his faces aren't being able to be used anymore. So he's got these interchangeable faces. But like I mean, I spent so much time sculpting these other faces, and first of all, you don't see any of that. Second of all, I had to scrap that when I went to last looks. And third, like, I just put so much work and putting this character together, and then I was safe, and I was like, okay, awesome. And not only that, but watching the show, I don't get to see what the judges said about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, again, I think that should have been the winner this week. And I know, just real quick, I have to say, speaking of Universal, we just have to talk about your Resident Evil just real quick because
which one? There's 2 now.
There's 2 now.
That's insane.
Yeah, there's one that just opened as part of the big Universal Cool expansion, right?
Yes.
Along with the Attack on Titan thing and the Evangelion and Monster Hunter.
Yeah, we did a 4 attraction event over there with all 4 of the licenses you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So we did a Resident Evil puzzle maze that you're trapped in a TV station in Raccoon City, and you have to solve all these quizzes to escape. And
that's my dream.
My dreams are happening right now.
Yeah, like right now.
And then we did a Monster Hunter walkthrough exhibit with full-size Jinouga wolf. It's like a wolf thunder dragon thing. And then what else did we make? Oh, Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan.
And then we did. My favorite thing was Neon Genesis Evangelion. They created a 4D experience with it, with like cinematic quality, like close to Transformers for the anime. So,
which Adam also worked on.
I love too that when they announced all the Attack on Titan 2, I distinctly remember us geeking out hardcore over it. Then we're like, "That was Adam," and just like kind of lost it. So
it was cool because. One of the things they have is they took the anime and translated it into real life features.
Yeah, I saw some images of that online. It was a little creepy and also awesome.
They were like looking at those things were like unnerving because you're like, this is a real cartoon. But I got to give a shout out to Shinya Endo, who was an amazing makeup artist in Japan that built those. Amazing. And he was a pupil of Kazu and everything. So he's he's amazing. So I would, if you can make it out there to go see it, I would.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
And you guys are amazing as well. I'm really excited to see what we have in store next week with you guys. Thank you again so much for coming and being guests on the show. And remember, if you are a first-time listener or if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AfterBuzz TV. Check us out on iTunes and SoundCloud by searching AfterBuzz TV to see our full roster, over 400 shows. So check out our other shows as well, and leave us a comment on Twitter or on YouTube. We love hearing from you guys. And shout out Lee Burns. Thanks for your suggestions. You're always tweeting at us. We dig ya. We'll see you guys next week.
Where can we find you guys?
Oh my gosh! Well, you can find me on Twitter, since that's what I was just talking about, at Alana Jordan.
And you can also find me at AAMO Music.
You can find me at Emma Fyffe.
And you can find me at atorres890.
And be sure to use the hashtag ABTVFaceoff. We love hearing from you guys.
Have a good night, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.